This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right, welcome to the WWE Podcast on this week in review, the 4th day of May, Sunday, 2025. And I'm not a Star Wars fan, so I will not pronounce it the way that some of you are thinking. I have never seen Star Wars. I've seen highlights, like I know some of the major characters, but I really have no interest in any of the films. So, with that being said, it's just another day for me. For some of you out there, it's like a religious holiday. But thank you for joining me wherever you are, as we are going to cover as many topics as we can for this week in review, and also get through another email or two at the end of the show for some mailbag leftovers. So stay tuned for that. If you want to participate in the mailbag, you have to send us an email, mailbag@wwepodcast.com, or become a patron and get priority placement in the show. It's a great way to do it, and patreon.com/WWE podcast. It's a good place to go. All right. Well, this week in WWE is 6 days until Backlash, and it feels like it came up real quick. That's because it did. I mean, there's almost no prep for Backlash, as WrestleMania was, April 19th and 20th? And it feels like it was a week ago, but it was nearly 3 weeks by the time the Backlash event will take place. And it doesn't feel like enough time between PLEs. And I wish that Orton and Cena had a little bit more of time to build, because there is so much story behind Orton and Cena that they could draw from. So much. I mean, that is one of the most storied rivalries in the entire company's history. So perhaps they do that in the promo video just before the match next Saturday. Perhaps they do it in lieu of an appearance from either man this coming Monday, tomorrow night. But I wish it was built another few weeks where they talked about their history and talked about not just Cena's mission to erase Orton from the history of WWE, which is, by the way, impossible. But besides that, talk about what they went through in the early mid-2000s and the 2010s and how many matches they had. Bring up the numbers. I mean, I would love to hear the final numbers of the Orton-Cena program. How many wins, how many losses, number of matches, including live events. Those numbers exist somewhere. And then talk about the biggest moments in their rivalries and the biggest moments in their promos and the shocking moments and everything, all the twists and turns. Like, they're missing out here. And if this is the only time in Cena's farewell tour that they're doing an Orton-Cena matchup, there's a lot that they're missing here. So hopefully they draw on some of it, because it's right there for the taking for John Cena. And as I'm thinking with John Cena going down the line here, as his 26 dates remain, I think it's 26 as of this recording, you think about the guys that he hasn't worked with that he probably will before he retires, and Orton was certainly one of them on there. Certainly. Cody Rhodes was on there. Check. Now check for Randy Orton. Who's next? Could it be CM Punk? It could be. Could it be another Cody match? I guess it could be, once he comes back. And it's actually, I'm really enjoying Cody not on the product. Really enjoying it. And I don't mean that because I don't like his character, which you all guys know I don't, but more because we need a break, just generally. I think we need a breather from Cody Rhodes on our product, and that's what we're getting right now. And that's, I think, a very good thing. Even for Cody fans, I think you have to admit, you miss him now. You miss him more than ever. Thinking back to when Cody returned at WrestleMania a few years ago, this may be the longest stretch that he's been out outside of his injury, his torn pec. This may be the longest time he's been out, willingly been out, strategically been out. And I think that's going to benefit him long term, because as I've mentioned, the fans have started that turn on him. So either the timing is just right, or they did this in response to the reaction he was starting to get from the fans. And they're like, hey, we don't need to turn him. We don't want to turn him yet. We got to pump the brakes, pause, let the fans miss him, have him come back after Backlash. Maybe even after that, maybe even leading into SummerSlam. I don't think they have the willpower to go that long without Cody, and I understand why. But I would go longer. The longer, the better with his absence. And seeing what he does after the Orton-Cena match, which presumably Orton's going to lose. Now, what I'm thinking, as Orton and Cena happen, and we kind of know the outcome, which is Orton setting up this week saying, no, I want to show the future generation of Ortons the match and have me win in front of my family. He's setting the stage for Cena to do something dastardly in front of his family. And that's fine with me. Low blow, brass knucks, title belt shot, something along those lines to have Cena keep the belt. That makes sense to me. And as I'm looking past Orton, again, we've labeled CM Punk as a potential opponent, Cody as another potential opponent again. I think they'll meet again. Roman Reigns, I guess, could face John Cena as well. We also have the idea of who's going to face John Cena last in December? Who's going to be the last guy? I would, in a perfect world, I'd like it to be Edge. I know he's under contract with AEW. I don't know how long his contract is, but that is who I would choose. Edge versus John Cena in the final match of his career. That's what I would do if at all possible. If it's possible. Again, I don't know the terms of Edge's contract, Adam Copeland's contract with AEW, but that's what I would want. I'm sure Adam would be, he would just relish in the idea of that. How could you not? Especially with the history those two have. It rivals the Cena-Orton rivalry. I think Edge and Orton are his top two opponents. I think even in a way, Edge, pun intended, edges out Orton in some aspects of intensity and massive moments. If you remember, New Year's Revolution 06, if you're alive or remember that at all or weren't a fan, I don't know, but Edge beat John Cena for his first WWE championship right in my hometown. So, of course, that maybe is a little bit more of a specific memory because it's in my hometown and I was there live and all the rest, but still, some of the moments that John Cena and Edge had were just fantastic. And that's how I would book it if we can, but I don't know if that's possible at all. And as we look down the line too, I guess there's other men that he could face that he hasn't yet, but he's got such limited dates. Those aren't dates that he's wrestling. As he mentioned, those are just appearances. So SummerSlam, you presume he have a match, and then maybe every PLE after that, he'll be in a match of some sort. Everything from SummerSlam on. You would imagine they're going to get the most out of him as much as they can. So I don't even know. I don't know why. Last thing, and then I'll move on about John Cena. If John Cena's career is going to be over at the end of this year, and he says it is, and I believe it is as well, he's going to stick to that. Why would you not want to go to WrestleMania 42 and make it your last match? Why would you not want to? What's the idea behind December? I understand it's a calendar year, but in wrestling land and in the wrestling calendar, December is no man's land. December is the time where you're not quite at the Rumble yet. You're not quite at WrestleMania season. You're in between Survivor Series and usually no December PLE, and you're looking ahead to the Rumble. So why December? Why would he? If you're already to December, why not just go a few more months and freaking go to WrestleMania 42? You're so close already. Why would you not want to make it the biggest match you can, make the most money you can, and make the company the most money you can? Do you know how much build and anticipation and kind of, I guess, projection out there would be to who John Cena's opponent could be at WrestleMania 42? You know how much discussion there already be going on? To me, December is a weird time, and I don't want to hear that, it's time for the new talent. Well, why not face a new talent at WrestleMania 42? That's the ultimate give back. What is going on between January of 26 and April of 26 that he just says, nah, we're going to end it in the the absolute biggest downtime of the year in December. It's weird. There's got to be a reason for that. At least, I don't know. Maybe, who knows? But all right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about this week in WWE. And as always, we'll start with SmackDown. And I do want to welcome back Amanda from the UK, who was on holiday the last several weeks. And we had a great fill-in in Ryan Sprague and did an excellent job. I appreciate his contributions. And Amanda's back, though. Great to have her back as well. And go check out her SmackDown review that she posted yesterday morning. Sorry. So anyway, let's talk about SmackDown that came to us from Des Moines, Iowa, at the Wells Fargo Arena. Backstage, Priest shook hands with Shane Helms, but then saw the Bloodline duo of Jacob and Solo. Priest shoved Fatu, and Solo shoved Priest. Referees and producers quickly intervened, and Knight walked past the commotion and headed to the ring while being introduced by Mark Nash. Knight spoke about Priest costing him a number one contenders match for the U.S. Championship with Drew McIntyre on last week's show. Knight said he understood what Priest was doing and he doesn't have a problem with him. Knight started to say that Priest needs to pick his spots, but he was interrupted. Damian Priest made his entrance and joined Knight inside the ring, and Priest said that he and Knight don't have a problem, and what happened last week was all about Drew McIntyre. Knight said he understood, but he picked the wrong time because it cost Knight his match. Priest disagreed, saying Solo Sikoa hit Knight with a Samoan spike, so he felt he saved Knight from taking a Claymore and being pinned. Knight told Priest not to let his WrestleMania failures be his, and Priest said the whole situation is actually because Knight lost his title at WrestleMania. Priest said that if Knight hadn't had his head up his ass, he might still be champion, and Knight said the whole idea was supposed to be that they don't have a problem, but if Priest kept talking like he would end up with his foot in his ass. And Priest said they should have a match scheduled for later that night. And he asked, why wait? And they agreed. So we get right off the bat, Damian Priest versus LA Knight. And it's nice to see babyfaces not always getting along too. I know that there's this constant belief in wrestling, and really it does happen as well, where all heels get along and all babyfaces get along. It does happen a little too much. It's not all the time. It's not a black and white rule that is always followed, but it's nice to see once in a while people on the same team, whether it's a heel or babyface, not get along. It tends to happen more on the babyface side because when there's two heels fighting, usually it's more difficult for the fans to care what's going on. But with babyfaces, the fans are already invested, and then you have to pick a side. So, yeah, it's good. It's not the idea is to not turn one heel, but it is a bit of a believable dispute here. So the match ended by DQ here. So the reason was Priest rolled Knight back inside the ring after hitting a flatliner, and then Solo Sikoa attacked Priest to end the match. So Damian Priest, if you're counting at home, Damian Priest beats LA Knight by disqualification. Solo ran Priest into the ringside barrier. Solo comes in the ring, beat up Knight, and he was about to hit the Samoan spike, but Priest climbed on the apron, grabbed Solo's arm, and punched him, and then Knight knocked Solo out with his BFT finish. And then Priest and Knight stood face to face, and they decided for a moment here to kind of take out a common enemy. Priest was about to hit South of Heaven on Solo through the announce table, and that's when Jacob Fatu shows up, and that kind of evened the odds. It did not allow Priest to hit the finish on Solo through the announce table, and Fatu hit a hip attack on Priest against the barricade as well. So, yeah, kind of setting up for a tag team main event, predictable, one that, was, hey, this is going to be a main event at some point. You can kind of feel it coming, and that's okay. This is fine. It's also nice that the big stars aren't there. Roman's not there. Drew's not there. Cody's not there. We all know The Rock ain't going to be there. John Cena's not there. This was a very low star power SmackDown, at least one that's comparative to the last several months. it was a low power SmackDown, low star power, and really kind of low power. It wasn't exactly the most memorable edition of SmackDown. I think a lot of us can agree with that. I've seen a lot of negativity online about SmackDown this past week, and I understand it. Yeah, it wasn't exactly an exciting SmackDown, but it had Randy Orton. You know, if you're looking for a star, you know, we had Naomi. We'll get to that. And Jade Cargill and Nia Jax, and some great tag team action, which we'll talk about as well. But yeah, it was a little bit low on the star power side for sure. Oh, two things before we continue, because I know I'll forget. Austin explained his ATV issue at WrestleMania, and he went on a podcast to discuss exactly what happened. I think it was Ariel Helwani. I probably said that wrong. We all know who he is. Very popular podcaster, one of the top. And he interviewed Austin. And I got to say, Austin, throughout that interview, seemed very disinterested, almost annoyed to be there. He didn't have a mic on, so he used probably his laptop mic, which just doesn't sound good at all. It sounded like he had a microphone that was being used from 2008. So his audio quality was bad. He seemed disinterested. I mean, and I love Austin, but he seemed for like 75% of the interview just annoyed. Annoyed that he had to do this, or maybe felt he had to. I'm not sure. And Ariel was being very respectful. He didn't ask any questions that were personal, but he seemed annoyed and short at times. And Ariel did ask about, hey, what the hell happened with the ATV? And Austin said, yeah, everyone seems to be okay. It was just one of those situations, you know, something with the throttle. I'm not used to those. It's like, dude, you do this for a living now. No. And we've also seen you do this a gazillion times in your entrances, dating all the way back to like 2005. You've been making 100 entrances like this with your ATV, coming down to the ring with no issues. And I've always wondered, one of these times something's going to F up. And it did. And I don't want to hear anything about your throttles. All right. You circled the ring once and you were fine. And then wham. And he also missed the ramp going up. All right. He missed the ramp going up to the big ramp. How? I mean, that was never explained. He had to back up, but they had to like get a bunch of people to help back him up to get up the ramp to go down the ramp. And then he slams into the barricade. I mean, the presiding idea is that he was hammered. And that could have been the case. I think it's a smart potential conclusion. But I don't know with 100% certainty if that's the actual reason. I'm sure he was drinking backstage. But there's something with the throttle he said. I'm just like, sure. I mean, at the same time, what's he going to say? What's he going to say? Hey, yeah, man, I was hammered. I was drinking all night backstage. I just kind of lost control, man. That's why you don't drink and drive. No, he can't say that. Of course he can't say that. He has to say anything but that. For several, and one of the most presiding reasons is legally, it's not a good idea to put the company in hot water or yourself. So of course he has to say that. Whether or not that's true, I have my doubts, but that's the reason. Something about the throttle and the gears, or I don't know, something, which is a bunch of nonsense. But he also mentioned that, WWE called him about WrestleMania 41 and, hey, it's right down the road. We're in Vegas, blah, blah, blah. And he did say that he wasn't able to really do much physical, that he had to, he got a knee replacement, which is true. So he, that was also another reason why maybe he didn't do anything physical, is because of his knee replacement, which I get, but hey, to deliver one stunner, you don't need your knee. And well, I say that in somebody that's never delivered one in the ring, but when you're kicking somebody, you're obviously not really kicking them. And you just need to land on your ass. Maybe there's moving parts I'm not aware of. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to risk anything potentially happening at all, even in the off chance. So that one's a little more plausible if he did just have a knee replacement a couple months ago. So I guess we're looking at WrestleMania 42. I said this WrestleMania 40. I said it now WrestleMania 41 with higher confidence. And now we're at WrestleMania 42 in New Orleans. And I do have to say, given all of the backlash with The Rock not appearing and all the backlash of the just god-awful finish to the main event of night 2, which I've gone over just almost too much on the show, WWE has an obligation now to make it right. To make it right for the fans next year. And you know that next year people are going to be comparing night 2 disaster to whatever happens at WrestleMania 42 night 2. They're going to be thinking, oh my God, it better not be another repeat. So WWE, they just can't make the same mistake twice. So you'd imagine they have to bring out the big stars. To be honest, the WrestleMania 42 ticket is more enticing to me than ever, because they have now been through the backlash that does continue. Not as hot and heavy, because we have the collective attention span of I don't know, whatever has a really low attention span. I've said goldfish before, but I can't think of something else. But WWE now has said, hey, we don't want to feel that heat again. We got to make this right next year. And hopefully they do. So, WrestleMania 42, I don't even know what the card is. Has anybody even taken a stab at WrestleMania 42? Has anybody even thought about the potentials? I mean, that's actually something usually you can see coming a mile away with some of the big things. But I actually don't know. Rock, Roman, lol, right? LOL. I'm not even going to go there. Cody versus who? John Cena is not going to be there. So Orton versus who? CM Punk versus who? Bron Breakker and Seth Rollins in individual matches, presumably, versus who? It's a lot of potentials out there. What about, dare I say, Brock Lesnar? Dare I say it? There's a lot to think about for WrestleMania 42. I do wonder if they know where they're going for a year out. You would think they do. They always tell us they do. The other thing, before we get going on the rest of the show, WWE's releases, I would be remiss if I did not mention them. And this is some of those that were released in a 90-day non-compete clause. So they're free agents as of August. This is, I don't know if I want to say shocking. This list is more shocking than the rest with the NXT because they're not as big of names. Shayna Baszler, Katana Chance, Caden Carter, Dakota Kai, Shotzi, and Braun Strowman. Now, I have to say, Braun Strowman is their in-house seasonal employee. How many times have they brought Strowman back and then released him? Too many. Braun Strowman has been, I don't know if I feel bad for the guy or if I'm glad he's getting work here and there. He seems to be living it up, whether it's just for show or not. He's on a boat getting drunk and singing songs on stage. You should see his social media. Might have been Instagram. I think it was Instagram. But it might have been X. I'm not sure. But he's having a blast, or at least pretending that he is by showing us what he wants to see, or what he wants us to see. So anyway, yeah, Braun Strowman, I don't know. That one doesn't shock me as much. Shotzi, we haven't seen in a while. Dakota Kai's been off for a little while, though. Although she was on the rise. I'm not sure what that's about. I really started to enjoy Dakota Kai. Caden Carter and Katana Chance, they didn't do much of anything with them, meaning like they were a tag team for a while. They didn't show much of a personality, but WWE also didn't give them an opportunity to. They were undersized, but they were a mechanically fine tag team. You'd imagine that in a tag team division that has very few legitimate tag teams, that they would keep one that actually exists to hold depth in that division, and also a team that can make anybody look good. Shayna Baszler, honestly, it's about time. I hate to say that because she has been so underutilized that if you're not gonna, if you're not gonna take a talent like her and actually do something with her, then I would. If I were her, again, I'm not, but If I was, I would say, hey, well, it's been many years now that you've done jack with me. I'm out. And hopefully she finds other work, because I think she'd be honestly a decent fit in AEW. With the more creative control there, yes, things are not exactly a rosy picture over there either. They've got their own issues, no doubt, with attendance and ratings, but they have deep wallets. And I think Shayna Baszler would be a nice change of pace over there. Because to me, the best Shayna Baszler we've ever seen was leading into WrestleMania 36 against Becky Lynch. That was the best Shayna Baszler I've ever seen 5.5 years ago, when she was just snapping people's arms. She's also not the stereotypical ultra attractive woman, which I think is a benefit to her. She's just about getting in and kicking ass. And I think that to me that's a huge benefit. And I think she's decent on the mic too. So they just said, hey, we have no plans for you. And I'm sure she's like, yeah, well, no, I can tell. All right, so the NXT releases with a 30-day non-compete clause. They're free agents as of June. Javier Bernal, and I'm going to say a lot of these probably wrong, because that's what our NXT Jay Gumar, that's what he does here. That's why I don't. But hey, here we go. Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey, Gigi Dolan, Jakara Jackson, Cora Jade, Oro Mensah, Riley Osborne, Eddie Thorpe, Wolfgang, Danny Palmer, and Luca Crucifino. So, man, honestly, I wish them all the best. I hope that all these men and women find work, or go find something else that they love. But it's that time of year. It's that time of year, unfortunately. All right, let's roll through this quickly, because we got email and maybe a voicemail or two to get through. So we've got, that's right. We had Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, and Alba Fire come in the dressing room in black while mourning Green losing the women's title. And Michin and B-Fab made their exit. Green cried foul about Zelina Vega beating her for the title. Aldis said she lost by a 3 count, and Green spoke about taking her protest to the Supreme Court. And Green said she could skip that if given a recount. So she's using a lot of, obviously politically charged stuff, which, I don't know, I'm a bit mixed on. Aldis said she thought she meant rematch, then informed her that Piper Niven would be facing Zelina Vega in a non-title match later in the show. Aldis said that Niven could earn a title shot with a win, and added that Green could be Niven's secret service if she won the title. So Nia Jax comes out. She was booed. And Jax said that while she was away and Tiffany was running around like a Barbie doll with her head cut off, she was at home getting refocused so she could come back and take back the women's championship. So they didn't give Nia a lot of time here. Tiffany comes out, spoke as she came to the ring, and said she's not the same person that Jax used to push around, and mentioned beating Flair, and the fans booed the mention of Charlotte. Stratton entered the ring and spoke about she wasn't shying away from a fight and would defend her title anytime, anywhere, any place. Also interesting, Charlotte's not on the show either. Yeah, so a lot of star power missing. Naomi walked on stage, recalled Stratton helping Jax whenever she faced her for the championship, and Naomi recalled Stratton talking about how she's changed. So Naomi said she's a new woman now. She said she's going after the gold, and not only would she push Stratton onto a car, she'd push her under one. Jeez. Cargill comes out and quickly cleared Naomi from the ring. Stratton kicked Jax out of the ring, and there you go. You got your tag team match. All right. Aleister Black and The Miz. This lasted 9 minutes and 25 seconds with Aleister Black beating The Miz after Black Mass. That kick looks just, I would not want to take that. I understand he's not actually trying to hit him in the face, but there's just such a small margin of error with that move. You miss one, fraction of an inch, and your teeth, your jaw, something's getting cracked around. I just, I would not want to take Black Mass. And also, what would help Aleister Black if they actually gave him some character development? Instead, they just slotted him back in like they did before he left and went to AEW. And they just have him as this dark character that has a cool finish, and he's got a lot of tattoos. So what's the difference this time? He has a weird contact in one of his eyes. Is that the big difference? Is that the career-changing decision that was made that's going to push him to that next level? Is that contact in his eye? I mean, seriously, they need to do something with him that is beyond in the ring. We all know he's really good in the ring. Badass finish. Cool look. He's, he might be the one person on the roster that has less real estate remaining for tattoos than Rhea Ripley. Like, Rhea Ripley's a close second, but Aleister Black does take the trophy on that. But he gets the victory here. And after the match, Carmelo Hayes was climbing in the ring, and Black sat down and stared at him, and it was more of a hint of things to come between these two. The Miz is there as a pawn, as he usually is, as a gatekeeper, to introduce, or in this case, reintroduce talent to the roster. The Miz has really been famous for that role. And he loses here in 9.5 minutes. We then have a women's championship match. Zelina Vega and Piper Niven. Non-title. The match went 11 minutes, so a really nice match here. Longer than I thought it would go, with Zelina Vega winning, and that made sense given that Zelina Vega just won the United States Championship. So you're going to want to have her look as strong as she can, despite the fact that it was a bit of a controversial ending. Niven headbutts Vega, and then powered her up in a powerbomb position, and Vega countered with a Hurricane Rana, and then Vega was going to run the ropes for a 619, but she stopped because Green was on the apron, and then Vega avoided charging Niven, who accidentally struck Green, and Vega rolled up Niven for the 3 count. So nice matchup here between Niven and Zelina Vega, despite the fact you could clearly see Piper Niven slapping her leg for the sound effect. I mean, it was super obvious. But Vega went over here, not exactly super clean, but we have Chelsea Green and the Secret Service and that whole thing. And, it's... I really don't mind this version of Chelsea Green, who is now going to protest, and she's bringing in a lot of political elements, for what it's worth, into this, and it seems to be working. I think fans are generally still in some form or fashion behind her because she's such a lovable loser. But yeah, this is good, and it's good for Zelina, despite the fact that she does enter the ring and hold the championship up and dance like Mercedes Moné, which is, she may be, I have to say, out of all the personalities in wrestling, Mercedes Moné may take the cake for me as far as just insufferability. And now, if you didn't know, you can spend $99 a month and be able to talk with her in some kind of instant messaging service. Yeah, so there's that. All right, and I'm sure that is not being run by AI. I'm totally sure it's on the up and up. So we then have, let's see here. Nick Aldis said, forget the triple threat, and he made it Fatu versus Priest versus Knight versus McIntyre in a fatal 4-way, and this is for the United States Championship. And Fatu said he would dog walk anyone that's put in front of him. And Solo accused Aldis of screwing over Fatu. So, yeah, I mean, now McIntyre earned the number 1 contendership, and then it's now a fatal 4-way. So there's that. So McIntyre will have something else to complain about, which is good. Randy Orton comes out, and he said that Cena is arrogant and selfish, and he's an entitled brat who gets whatever he wants. Orton says Cena is a shiny new toy to be played with by the ultimate puppet master, and said Cena took advantage of the PG era because he was willing to be a walking, talking cartoon character, where Orton stayed true to who he is. I think referring to John Cena as a shiny new toy, I mean, he has to be kidding, right? John Cena is the antithesis of a shiny new toy. But whatever. So, Orton then brought up hustle, loyalty, and respect, and said he'd give Cena all the hustle. He'd give the hustle all day, but he questioned what happened to loyalty and respect. and recalled Cena reclaiming that he would erase everything from the Orton family and that he would do that over his dead body, and that he's going to be the latest legend that's going to be put down by Orton. So, fine. Randy Orton has never been a great promo. That's never been really what he's known for, despite the fact that the promos don't feel as scripted as they once did. When you put John Cena against anyone, it's hard to make that other person look good because Cena is usually just so far above most of his opponents on the mic. But boy, does that make me want to see MJF get in the ring with John Cena. Can we make MJF John Cena's final opponent? Can we do that, please? Oh, gosh. All right. Then let's keep going here. Ray Phoenix and Santos Escobar. Ray Phoenix in a really good match. Ends in 12 minutes and 25 seconds. We had the Nia Jax and, Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill defeat Nia Jax and Naomi in 11 minutes. But after the match, Jade put up the women's championship on her shoulder. Stratton tried to take the belt back, but Jade held on to it. More symbolic kind of imagery here of Jade eventually chasing the championship, which, by the way, I don't think Jade's anywhere near ready for that responsibility. I just still don't. She's improving, and that's great, but I don't see Jade in a position where it's just, oh my God, you got to put the belt on her. We're not quite there yet, at least in my mind. But the women headlined the show here. The women main evented the event. Yes, they were lacking star power from a lot of different areas, but that's what creates new opportunity. That's what creates an opportunity for new stars to be built. So, but it ends with Naomi taking down pretty much everybody and going off the air with her holding up the championship. So, good stuff. Again, solid episode of SmackDown. Nothing you'll remember probably a month from now, but one that is, it was fine for what it was to build the Backlash. All right. Quick shot on Monday Night Raw. If you already forgot, because as you listen to this, Raw's on probably tonight. We had Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker and Paul Heyman. If you remember that, Sami Zayn trying to, knock some sense into them and have Seth say, look, I'm going to give you a chance. Paul Heyman will work a deal and he'll get you over to SmackDown. We don't want you to be a target. And Sami's pride gets in the way. His moral compass gets in the way. And it ends up in a match on Raw with Bron Breakker versus Sami Zayn, where Bron Breakker spears Sami Zayn into the next dimension. And we still don't know where he is. We're still trying to track him down, as Sami Zayn was split in half and his remains were transported to some other kind of reality. Because Sami Zayn, he got speared, 4 times? I think it was 4 times. And I know that it's all the work, but how does it not hurt? It has to hurt. So Sami Zayn, though, like a champ, took it, and he ends up getting, again, beaten down, and he got stomped by Seth Rollins as well to end the show. So there's that. And, it was a heck of a beatdown. It made Bron Breakker that much more important. It has really just put Bron Breakker in a position to be a huge star in the next 12 months. Just huge. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where Bron Breakker goes. And I know that I mentioned on Raw that there's no plans currently to add another member to this group, but I hope there are. I hope it's just WWE putting out that news so that when it happens, we're surprised. But right now, there isn't, apparently. So we also had the War Raiders taking on Finn Balor and JD McDonough, with the War Raiders beating Finn and JD in 10.5 minutes. And Lynch came out, and Valkyria and Lynch ended up brawling. That ended with Becky attacking Lyra from behind. And that pretty much did that. We had, let's see here, Stephanie Vacour versus Ivy Nile in a non-title match. Really good match. I enjoyed this, with 9.5 minutes of Stephanie beating Ivy Nile. And then, let's see what else we had. I'm scrolling through as fast as I can here. Braun Breaker, as I said, and Sami Zayn was the fourth match. So, yeah. Overall, again, a solid episode of Raw. I thought it was just a solid week. Nothing to write home about, I don't think. Rhea Ripley did take on Roxanne Perez. And Pat McAfee. Oh, Pat McAfee challenges Gunther at Backlash. So there's that. Oh, and Logan Paul also confronted Jey Uso. All right. So that does it for the week in WWE. But I want to give some time to those of you that did email me, and I didn't get to it on the mailbag. But let's go to first. I'll go to Andrew from Patreon. He says, I wanted to talk about the main event of Raw. I have an issue with the crowd cheering the antics of this new group when they're clearly doing heel things. The crowd continued to chant one more time for Breaker, and then Rollins stands tall after stomping an already defeated Sami Zayn, and the crowd still singing for him. I think pulling back the curtain too much is the reason for this. The crowd should not be intensely cheering the top heel on Raw. A lot of this applies to the crowd reaction Cena's been getting too. Do you think WWE expected this type of crowd reaction? I think that they're going to eventually realize what all this curtain pulling is doing is really disengaging people from the product. People have always done the one more time thing. It's kind of come and gone over the years, but now it's been a trend. Even with the heels, people want to see destruction. And you're right, it shouldn't be the case. That should not be the case. People should not want heels to do things, or if they want them to do them, the heels don't oblige. See, the heels, rather the people playing the heels, are really the ones responsible for this chant continuing, because all they have to do is go, no. Right? They're doing something the crowd doesn't want to happen, and then the more they do that thing, suddenly it becomes something they want to see, because the fans maybe realize that they can control what happens on air. If they chant it, the heel will do it. But again, being a heel in these days is just going, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do what the crowd wants. I don't know in what world that's called being a heel, but it has, again, by WWE stars doing this, they're empowering more fans to do this every single time it happens with this, destruction of whoever and multiple finishes after multiple finishes. You're going to hear the one more time, and what WWE needs to do is just not do it. That'll stop that. But I could go forever about the whole WWE pulling back the curtain problem. And they'll tell me, well, the curtain's been pulled back. We know what people know what we are. Yeah, like we know what you are too. But I don't know if TKO is just, I don't know what it is. People are blaming lately TKO and Triple H. I don't know. It might be a group effort here for like why they're doing this, not understanding that, yeah, like we all know what professional wrestling is. Everyone knows what it is on this earth that breathes, knows what pro wrestling is. We know what it is and what it isn't. But taking the magic out of the show while watching the show is the most cannibalistic activity that I've seen WWE do in its entire existence. And they think that by pulling the curtain back more and more, they're giving the fans what they want. And there may be a subset of fans that are super interested in this new Unreal show that's coming out about the writer's room. But I think there's a lot of fans that deep down go, I don't want to see this. Why would I want to watch the magic being made and then have to go watch the product that they're presenting me, knowing like 5 seconds ago I just watched of how it was produced. And then I'm going to get emotionally invested in it. And then, because then it's going to want me to go spend money and dedicate my time to a thing that I know is not real at all, and then pretend to try to get emotionally invested in this. But I just saw how it was made 5 seconds ago. And then there's a post show to remind me that what we saw wasn't real. And then there's previews for the Unreal show on the show. I mean, they are just so ashamed of what professional wrestling is. I think it might be coming directly from TKO. They are ashamed of what real professional wrestling is. Getting fans to buy in. Keeping things real. We all understand what is real and isn't. We all understand what pro wrestling is. But if you're still able to blur the lines this time, at this point in WWE's like lifespan, That's impressive. And they haven't been able to do that in a long time. And it's hard to do when you are always reminding me that what I'm watching is produced. It's fiction. Stop. But they won't. There's clearly no plans for it, and they are ashamed of what pro wrestling is. They're embarrassed by what pro wrestling is. They are. And it's clear. Because they're telling us, hey, no, don't, we don't want to insult your intelligence. Here's how everything's made. Here, take a look. Look, we'll pull the curtain back. Look, peer. Look in the window. We don't want you to actually make you think that we believe it's real. No. What makes everything believable and real and you can emotionally invest in it is when something is engaging. Like movies. Like TV shows. WWE's a TV show. All right, I'm going to stop there. Let's get to our one voicemail.
This is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag Show. Record you live on a Wednesday morning, and you know what time it is. It's time to
say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry.
That's right, folks. Joe Hendry is his name. As I take you to my 42nd episode of the Drudge Report, and like always, coming to you live from an undisclosed location. Before I start the show, I must mention this very quickly. I will be getting my second Joe Hendry shirt, which is the official Say His Name and He Appears WrestleMania 41 shirt. The same shirt that Joe Hendry wore on night 2 of WrestleMania 41 when he was the mystery opponent for Randy Orton. I'm supposed to be getting that shirt on sometime in June. The shirt is going to be shipped out on May 30th. I don't know if I'm going to be wearing it or putting it in a picture frame because it's such an iconic shirt in remembrance in the iconic appearance of Joe Hendry from WrestleMania 41. But anyway, when I finally do get that shirt, I will post that in the Discord chat so you all guys can check to see my brand new Joe Hendry shirt, the Say His Name and He Appears WrestleMania 41. Coming off the heels of his appearance from WrestleMania 41, he also did some podcasts with Ariel Haradi and the Busted Open radio show. And then, of course, he was on NXT last week where he made an appearance alongside Obafemi, the NXT champion, and then they beat down on Trick Williams. Remember the name Trick Williams because I'm going to come back to that name later on in this episode. We take you back to what took place this past Thursday night on a TV taping of TNA Pro Wrestling as Joe Hendry and Elijah was in a tag team match against Ethan Page and Frankie Kazarian, the self-proclaimed king of TNA, Mr. Frankie Kazarian, as Joe Hendry and Elijah get the victory in 14 minutes and 22 seconds as this was the match that was building up for the big triple threat match for this coming Sunday that just passed at TNA Rebellion live from Los Angeles, California. And let's take you there as we had this triple threat match for the TNA World Championship of Joe Hendry versus Ethan Page versus the self-proclaimed king of TNA, Mr. Frankie Kazarian, as Joe Hendry is still your TNA World Champion as he delivers the standing ovation choke slam to Ethan Page to get the victory. Post-match, we get, remember what I said earlier, we got the appearance of Trick Williams. Now, as Joe Hendry was at the corner of the ring lifting up his TNA World Championship in celebration, and as he's about to come down, here comes Trick Williams with the spinning heel kick to lay out Joe Hendry, and then he goes for a trick shot to Joe Hendry as Joe Hendry lies on the mat with Trick Williams holding the TNA World Championship. I guess you could say this was karma for what Joe Hendry and Obafemi did to Trick Williams on the previous episode of NXT when they beat down on Trick Williams. And he appeared last night on NXT. Joe Hendry opens the show looking for Trick Williams because he has some unfinished business with him. The lights go off, thinking that maybe Trick Williams might show up in this opening segment, but we get 4 guys. We get this group called Dark State as they come and attack Joe Hendry, beat him down mercilessly. As now it seems that Joe Hendry's focus is now going to be towards Dark State, but he still needs to get his hands on Trick Williams. During the course of the show, we get a backstage segment of the NXT Tag Team Champions, Hank and Tank, as they talk to Joe Hendry, and they said that they believe in Joe Hendry. And if needed, they could help Joe Hendry go up against Dark State. Could this be a possible matchup of Joe Hendry and Hank Tag versus one of the three guys from Dark State? Let's see what happens on the next episode of NXT, because I believe that Joe Hendry will appear next week, so stay tuned for that. Always remember to believe, say his name, always remember the words that Joe Hendry says anytime, any place, at any show, and most importantly, always remember to do this.
Wave your hands from side to side and say, oh, I believe in Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry is so prestigious.
Once again, this is your guy, DJ Kuzmo. Have a blessed week. Be kind to one another. Stay safe, my friends. Believe and peace.
Thanks, DJ. Appreciate the updates as always for Joe Hendry. And I know there are many fans that just don't follow him unless he's on the main roster. And it's good to hear what's going on with him on NXT or in TNA and Trick Williams and all that. It's great to see, because when they eventually do bring him up and go full blast, as we all know, we've been talking about this for a year now, it's going to be crazy. And hopefully he has more than just the music, which, by the way, I mean, the music it's up there in the top 3 catchiest theme songs of all time. I mean, Shinsuke Nakamura, if we've forgotten, is a pretty damn catchy song. Sami Zayn's is up there as well. Cody Rhodes, my God, is also just one of the top 3, 4, 5 in my mind of catchiest entrance themes. And Joe Hendry, you do wonder if he didn't have that, if he'd be where he is. I would say no. Not to say that his in-ring work isn't good or that he's not a decent guy or his work ethic isn't there, but sometimes you just got to call a spade and be like, man, I don't know if you'd be where you are without that music. And you could even argue to some degree with Cody Rhodes too. It just goes to show how damn important that entrance music is. How important it is. It's not everything, but boy, it can create a life of its own. It can get the fans really behind you if that entrance theme music it sticks in your head, which is what Joe Hendry's is designed to do. If it can get the crowd involved, if it's feel good, all of the boxes are checked for Joe Hendry. And he's got a great gimmick of spinning around and the smile, almost like that infomercial smile. He's got great in-ring work. And now he just needs to put it all together, and WWE needs to have, what do you call it, everybody? A plan. Hear that? A plan for a guy like Joe Hendry. Not just throw him in there, we'll see what he does with The Miz and put him, have a 2-month feud with The Miz. And No. What's the plan? Meaning, what's your destination for this guy? Is it the world title? Is it an Intercontinental? Is it US? If it's one of those, or if it's just a big match with a big name the destination and then work backwards. A lot of times it feels like they're just throwing crap at the board and go, well, we'll figure it out next week. We'll figure it out in a few weeks, right? Sometimes that happens. Hopefully they don't do that with Joe Hendry when he comes full blast on the main roster. But thank you, DJ. Hope all is well with you too. That'll do it for our week in review / mini mailbag leftovers. I will be back on Tuesday with your Raw review and maybe a little nostalgia again tomorrow. I did release a nostalgia show from a few years ago with former co-host Ashley Mann, who joined me at the time to talk about the Backlash event from 2022. So check it out if you haven't already. It's the show right before this one. Also, join us on Patreon if you want to go ad-free. If you want a Discord server that allows you to chat with all the other fans of this show and of during wrestling shows, you can chat with them as well. Really, it's open anytime to chat with and just debate and have fun. And you can join us on Apple Podcasts to go ad-free and Spotify as well. That'll do it. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.